Hello, love bugs. We have so many amazing new players in our game now, and I have had so many comments from people as we've been touring houses and stuff about how they're just amazed at how people decorate, and a lot of PlayStation and Xbox players being like, oh my gosh, if only if I was on PC and I could do the amazing decor that you guys are doing. Well, I am here today to give you 10 different decorating tips that anybody on any platform can do. It does not involve any crazy, wild glitching. Truly, any player can do these things as long as they have these items. So let's get to it. The very first tip is a little bit of a two-parter. I want to show you how to do something a little bit special, but I did just want to point out this that I've built here. We're going to talk about building blocks a little bit and the things that you can do in order to make really cool separations between your rooms. One of the things that I think we're still kind of missing in both the original Harvest house and in the Alchemist house is just like cool different kinds of entryways and things inside of our plots, like just ways to shape the actual rooms differently instead of just having like a big room that's either small, medium, or large, or in the case of the alchemy house, just these same size rooms. So how do you fix that? Well, it's by using building blocks and using them to carve out different shapes and things in your house. But while this is a lot of just experimenting, figuring out what you like, creating the shelves and things that you would like to have in the space, there is one pretty cool thing that you can do. You can actually use the builder's wood wall to create the appearance of sliding doors inside your walls. So this actually looks like it slides into the wall and is a door that could close off, say, this space that I'm working on as a dining room. And you might be like, but Ravi, how can I do that? How did you glitch that? How did you get in there? Well, it's not actually a glitch. If you go into your top-down view and select the wall, you can actually move it into an open concept. When it's an open concept, you can build out anything you want. Another thing you can actually do, I could actually move like this wall here. Let's say these like 3 building blocks to put these out to be cut off by the wall to then create like a little mini shelf around the wall. That's also something that you can do with this, which is another fun way to get creative. But let's just focus on the sliding glass doors right now. All you do is place these walls down in this spot. They do take a little bit finagling to get them to actually fit on like this little piece of wood that you want them to be on top of. But once you find the sweet spot, place them down. And then it literally doesn't matter what you change that entrance to. It's not going to remove the item like it does change things on the wall. I can even go down to a single doorway if I want to. And look. They even still look like little sliding doors that I could probably pull shut if I wanted to from one way or the other. Pretty darn cool, right? I like putting on some sort of handle. This is the Winterlights wood ornament. If you're a new player, you probably don't have the ornaments yet, but they are a really nice thing that I would definitely save up some in-game money for around Christmas time when the Winterlights store is going to open up. But for now, they also do look good without the knobs on them, particularly if you have them on this double doorway instead. It still looks like a sliding door that you could pull, and there are other things that you could experiment with to have as handles as well. The second thing I want to talk about with building blocks is creating your own fireplaces. This is particularly handy with the new Alchemist set line of houses because there is not an actual fireplace that you can put on there yet. And I intend to build something like this on my other one. You might look on my other plot. You might look at this and think, Ravi, this is a bunch of glitching. How did you get all these things to fit? It's not. It's just laying down building blocks and then connecting these nice and tight to each other. There are a couple of glitching methods that would make this look a little bit cleaner, but you don't have to do them if you don't want to. The wooden parts that are on the top, especially if you want to make a truly like wooden topped fireplace, are literally just pavers that will go on top of the building blocks. So for example, if I place these building blocks down, imagine that's the top of my fireplace. I'm then just going to take these wooden pavers that are meant to go on the ground, and I'm just going to adjust them to fit where I want on top of my building block. And I can place multiple ones right in a row if I want to and create this nice little false wood top that I can have to go in that space. And now it kind of looks like the top, especially if this was stacked higher, it's going to look like an actual mantle on a fireplace. So a really simple design that you can do that doesn't require crazy glitching, but can make a really beautiful fireplace in your space. Some people will also use this for countertops and stack these really tight together and put some of this stone down, or even put down the wood blocks and put these on top of them just to make like a sleeker looking countertop. And it can really elevate a space. No glitching required. Another thing that can really elevate a space is a tiered fountain. Now, don't look at my bugs. Those are very obviously glitched, but the tiered fountain is not. All it is taking, again, some building blocks and then putting down some fountains that look good on them. So you might stack your building blocks like this, maybe like that, or whatever you want to build out for your particular fountain. You can play around with this, but then go ahead and stack your different pieces on the different spots. Maybe put this one down here and then put this one down here. And now look, you have a tiered fountain. Bam, the very framework of one made in like 10 seconds. Again, no glitching required. Now just go around and decorate the space. Maybe put down some rugs underneath. That's literally all that is under here. This rug is just the bellflower small rug dyed blue so that it kind of looks like a pool of water on the bottom of my fountain. And then I just played around with some light. I put some plushies in some spots. I put around a bunch of flowers, and that's all it is. Not glitched, nothing fancy, just some cool stacked items. I really cannot overstate how awesome flower beds are when added to your porches. Now, there are literally dozens of different styles of flower beds that you can build. But even in just the simplest way, I did these even before we had actual flowers by stacking different potted plants behind in a little collection, and then just simply stacking these single pieces of fencing. This is log cabin fencing, put down one piece at a time without stretching it to create this kind of flower box look. Now, people have done tons of different ones. You can definitely look up different ideas for designs, but I feel like people often see like, you know, these big porches and things and think, oh, I cannot do that. It would be so tedious and horrible on controller. And don't get me wrong, building out a big, huge porch or something like that, it would definitely take some finesse. And honestly, mine is not really finessed. I made this like 2 years ago. There's so much that I need to redo about this plot. But anyway, but the flower bed idea, I still think stands. There's a lot of good fencing that you can use. I really like the white like birch fencing that we have now as when it's used for flower beds. But as long as you line it up tight specifically to your porch, you can really make your porch look more beautiful. I see people, I actually have another flower bed and another plot that's stretched all the way out to the stairs and then all the way over and then filled with flowers and a tree. And again, all that's in here are different flowers, which now we have tons of different ones you can do, as well as using, like I said, simply these log cabin fences. If you want to get some more height in there and use the actual flowers, I would recommend using wooden building blocks. The building blocks are still shorter than the actual log cabin. So if you take, for example, if you were to put that there, let's say that, imagine that that's inside and then put this up on top, you're really not going to see the building block. It's going to look just like it is a nice tall bush that is hidden, that is inside of a cute little flower bed. So another way that you can decorate, again, zero glitches, just a design option. The thing on my plots that I almost always get asked about, like literally every time someone new comes into my channel and is like, oh my gosh, Ravi, how did you do these pretty colorful paths in your background? I thought we couldn't color the pavers. Well, we can't color the pavers, but what we can color are the gourmet butcher blocks. This is from the gourmet set. This is actually like a chopping board meant for the kitchen. That entire collection you can actually change the colors of. So its basic version, when it is not changed in color, looks like this over here. Another area that I used as pathing before we had pathing, and I've never changed it because honestly, it's just so beautiful. Why the heck would I? Like, I actually still like it better than some of the pavers that they have given us. But the fact that you can change the color of it and therefore make it match furniture or whatever for your space that you want is just awesome. I've used it just to line my garden and give it a little bit of character. And then I tied it into the colors of some chairs and things over here. Just a little simple something. But I've got to say, I absolutely love it. I also have a lot of new players comment on my curved, this curved counter that I have in this house and talk about arches in the game and people building really beautiful flower arches and things. Well, that again is actually not a glitch, believe it or not. It is just a little bit of a trick. In order to do any kind of arch, now this is going to work for my arched stuff over that you just looked at. This is going to work for building arches, for arched flowers. It works for all of it. You're just going to make yourself a little bit of a stack here. I'm using builders stone crates, and then I am using the industrial wall shelf. You can use any shelf that you like. Different people have different things that they like. Find what works for you. I personally think the industrial wall shelf works really well. You're then going to go ahead and take one of these little blocks and you are going to place it specifically on the wall shelf. You don't really want it as a part of there we go. I'm going to place it so it's just off. You don't want it connected to your wall back there. You want it to be its own little piece. So let's say I wanted to build like a really tiny arch. Now this is something that does 100% involve finesse. It also depends on what you're building, what you want to do. If you're building a big, huge arch, if you're building just a tiny one, or if you're building a little counter and you just want it curved, all of that is going to affect how you do this. But all it is you're going to take this little wall shelf and you are going to rotate it in the direction that you want to build your arch. Then you are going to take your next stone item and place it on top. And look, it places it straight up and down, leaving a little curve. You'll then grab your industrial wall shelf again. And this is where the finesse kind of comes in. You're going to turn it to the exact angle that you want. So in this case, let's say I'm building an arch and this is the angle that I need. I'm going to give myself something to jump on here. Now I'm just going to attach it to the top right there. Rinse and repeat until you have exactly what you're looking for. This is literally all this is. Now you're going to have to probably there is some finesse to this. Of course, you are going to get better at it with time. But imagine I just keep turning this and go all the way up around. Once I'm done and I have the curve that I want, I'm going to simply grab the bottom of this and it's going to make that the bottom. And now I have an arch. And that's literally all there is to it. That's literally all there is to it. And now you have an arch and then you can do it in different directions and different shapes. It's definitely something you can play around with. But this isn't some big crazy glitch that people are doing that you can only do on PC. You can do this even on the Switch. Don't get me wrong, Palia, this oven is really, really cute, but we have needed different kinds of ovens and stoves for a really long time. And while we're waiting for new functional designs that we could actually use to cook with, there's absolutely nothing wrong with building some non-functional but more modern looking stoves. This is something that you can absolutely do, and there's tons and tons of options, but I'll show you exactly how I did mine. These are, again, just the stone blocks. These here are the builder's stone pillars that are just wrapped around to create the shape that I wanted for my more modern stove. I used the Paltac range hood up above so that it actually looks like a range for an oven. And then here is the Paltac square floor vent. Again, remember how those pavers from earlier will actually sit on top of the stone blocks, even though they're meant to go on the floor? The same can be said for the Paltac square floor vent, which actually kind of looks like a little stovetop. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. On the front here, I have the Paltac small wall vent, but there's a lot of different vents that you can use that look really great. So again, just play around with different ones that you have and see what looks best for you. This is just to give you maybe a little spark of inspiration. Again, these building blocks, like really, there's so much that you can do. My jaw always drops when I see beautifully constructed pools and rivers that are made by sinking tables down into the ground. And while I do think that sinking is something that most people can probably master, I do understand that it is frustrating. It takes time and I don't have the patience for it. I don't go around sinking a bunch of those tables, and to get the materials to make them, whoof. So thank goodness that we now have some really nice ways to make ponds. Ever since Palia came out with the Elderwood Mossy Rug, it has become a staple on many plots, particularly the plots of people who don't want to have to do all of the glitching, or maybe who are playing on Switch or on Xbox or PlayStation, and they want to have a cute little pond that they have designed. There is nothing here that is glitched. 0 things are glitched. These are purely items that are in the game that I have arranged really closely together or laid over top of each other in ways that they would fit in order to create this design. These are Elderwood Mossy Rugs, like I said. This here is an ancient bush that you can get from doing the Pixie Bounce. The Pixie Bounce. I almost said the Pixie Pounce. If you know, you know. The Pixie Bounce in the Elderwood. This is Yardwork Large Rock 1. This here is Yardwork Small Rock number 2, which they're both purchasable. All these items, the Yardwork set is purchasable from City Hall up in Kenley's office. And then this is the Yardwork Leafy Log. And then I simply grew myself a tree. That's all that is. I also used a little bit. I really like the Spring River Rock edging. This is technically like an edging that kind of came out with the pavers. It comes in like rows. But much like the flower beds that I showed y'all earlier, where you can place those individual pieces of fencing, you can do the same thing with this river rock edging. You can just put it down one piece at a time and use it as little bits of decoration rather than stretching it out as one big long solid piece. That way you can literally like place piece by piece. If I wanted to line every single inch of this, which I'm probably going to do a little bit more to the spot, honestly, but if I wanted to lay a bunch of pebbles all throughout it and maybe even put a couple across a spot to make it look like there were some stones in the water, you can do that. It's just literally an edging piece that you can put around however you want to play with it. There is an absolute shortage of light posts and things like that for the outside landscaping in this game, but there is no shortage of ones that you can design. And this is just one of literally hundreds of options. If you didn't already know, these lovely builder's stone pillars can have lights attached to them and any items that go on walls. All I have done here is place homestead wall lamps on the edge to create my own type of outdoor lighting space in order to have some outdoor lighting posts that don't just look like the big Kilima ones. Then I took this green home wall pot and put it on the front, and I'm still kind of playing around with this design. I actually might move it down here and put it like that and then leave that nice and open. But again, there's so many options. Obviously, you could be using a wood base and then use the stone for the top. You could eliminate these completely and just do a nice big long post if you wanted. Or one that I've seen that also looks really nice is taking the big long post like that and then putting like 4 around it, like 1 on each side at the base to kind of create like a truly stable looking base. I've seen people do it with like the wooden ones like this one here. This was actually something that I was playing with an idea as well, using this with some flowers on top to be a pretty little light thing and attaching some lights to it as well. You can also even take lights. For example, this is actually a really good example of one. I don't know if this one will actually place on here though. Let me see. It'll place on here though, right? Oh, will it not? Well, it places here at least. But you can actually take these lights that are meant to like point up and actually just flip them and have them point down as well. And then you can create like an entirely different kind of light effect by having them pointing down towards the ground instead of pointing up in the air if you wanted to do that. And several of the lights you're able to do that with as well. I'm actually surprised like that y'all are kind of seeing this in real time with me, that you can't place this on this. I'm really surprised. I thought that you could. Well, you know, I'm learning with you guys, which is never a bad thing, honestly. But again, you can also, I see people kind of do it the Minecraft way is what I call it, where you place a pillar like this and then put one of the square ones like on the top and then surround it in lights like this one instead, pointing down at the ground, which is also a really cool light design that I've seen on a couple of different plots. And the very last thing I'm going to show you is an oldie but a goodie, something that I used to get a lot of comments on back in the day. Maybe not so much anymore as people have kind of figured it out. But again, we're talking to a lot of new players right now. And is really rethink your layouts. I'm really proud of my layout for my original house. It's outdated now. There's a lot that I want to do to fix it. But there's one thing that I did that I thought was pretty unique. And that is I really had this dream of having this beautiful foyer entrance into my home. Instead of just walking right into the front of the harvest house or whatever your main house is, and then just kind of standing in this awkward large living room space that didn't really feel like it had the right kind of entrance, I decided to instead flip my harvest house around. I placed a small room off the back of it and 2 hallway sections, and then built a beautiful porch. And all that did was essentially create an entrance to my house that feels more like a foyer, like a space that you would walk into. And it's not really decorated how I'd want it right now, so forgive me, but you would kind of walk in here and like take off your coat, kick off your shoes, maybe put some storage and stuff, and then walk into the actual proper spot of my house. And oh, there's my living room. It feels more like a grand entrance for a grand house, which is what I was trying to go for. So rethinking the way that places are laid out can really make a huge impact on how people tour your home and on how you even use it. Like, I still love that I have this big piece off the back here. It doesn't feel like the front of my house is out here. Like, very clearly the front of my house is over here. But it does create this really cool backyard, like grand exit that eventually leads back here to a spot where you can stargaze, you know, just very, very cute. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out. If you are a new player and you are struggling to find ideas and you feel like all the best ones you see are glitched, I just really want to put it out there that I tour plots all the time, and I have never toured a plot that I didn't see something cool, whether it was using a wallpaper in a way that I hadn't thought of, or using a light in a spot that I hadn't thought, or changing colorways and using combinations like that in a different way, or even just the way that they've combined, that you combine furniture or anything. Don't feel discouraged just because there's some of us have been playing this game for 2 years, and some people are just absolute master glitchers at this game. So many people are so good at that. It doesn't mean that there aren't valid, beautiful builds out there and aren't amazing things that you can do, especially now that we have these builder blocks. I mean, they really changed the game for everybody, and I can't wait to see what else is going to come with the new Alchemist building set, because that is an entire new house system that the team hasn't even fully explored yet. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I love you very much. Bye-bye.